up. But right now, let's shift to the race for governor. Here in recent days, Senator Mike Braun releasing a property tax plan and even making some changes to that plan to guarantee 2021 tax levels. This week, our Hannah Adamson also spoke with the candidates for governor to get their thoughts on the issue.
And I think his proposal is just not well thought out and is not careful.
Indiana State Representative Ed Delaney says he's concerned a property tax proposal from Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Braun could cut funding for public schools and services.
We can help the homeowners, especially those at the lower end. We don't have to do it in a destructive way.
According to the Braun campaign, the proposal would cap property tax increases by 2% for seniors, low-income Hoosiers, and families with children under 18. Everyone else would see a cap of 3%.
It'll be interesting. You're going to get, of course, feedback. I've not had any taxpayer not be happy about this. And when I explained to the jurisdictions that we're not asking you to do with less, we're just asking you not to go more.
It's a clear example of how out of touch he is with local government. I am 100% for doing a deep dive review of all of our tax structure, but also doing it in a responsible way that is informed, that would show the actual fiscal impact.
The plan also would change the homestead deduction to allow homeowners with an assessed value above $125,000 to deduct 60% of their home's assessed value from their tax bill. Economist Michael Hicks says while the proposal would save the average Hoosier roughly $300 a year,
it would be the biggest reduction in spending on public services in state history.
Hicks says the proposal would also amount to a nearly $900 million reduction in property taxes each year, or a roughly 10% cut to local government tax receipts.
It's a big negative shock, and it would result in layoffs, slower school construction and maintenance, fewer police officers, fewer fire protection, those sorts of things.
Other economists say while it's unclear how the proposal will affect local governments in the long run,
it's not specified actually how this would be paid for. Is it going to be that what happens is that the state basically helps pay for a part of the local property tax bills?
And if we have to adjust property taxes because there's been a surprising increase in home values, that's fine. But do it in a responsible way that respects the needs of local government.
I'm told the task force will submit final recommendations for the General Assembly to consider either in late November or early December. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thanks. We also talked taxes last week with Libertarian candidate Donald Rainwater, who joined us here in studio for a one-on-one interview largely focused on these property tax proposals. What was your response to that, and what would your approach be? How would it be different than his?
Well, let me start with my approach. I believe, first of all, that property ownership is a foundational part of a free society, or what I like to refer to as a liberty society. And that our current property tax structure never truly lets a Hoosier family or Hoosier individual own their residence, because they're constantly under the threat that government will take their home if they can't pay their property taxes. So what I've proposed is basically a shift from the perpetual property tax every year, paying more and more. If you own your home over 30 years, you'll basically be giving the state government 30% of the equity in your home. I want to get away from that and really convert it to 1% of the purchase price of your property for a maximum of 7 years, basically getting rid of the property tax and replacing it with the Indiana sales tax on your property, so that it would become an opportunity to either pay 7% when you close on the property, or, as I said, 1% per year of the purchase price until you've paid the 7%, and then you're done. And that would be the same for all Hoosiers, regardless of your age, your military status, whether you have children at home or not. One of the things about Senator Braun's plan that he came out with on Friday was that I noticed that there seems to be different levels of Hoosiers in his plan. If you have children under the age of 18, then you would only have to worry about your property taxes going up 2% every year. If you don't, then they would go up 3% until you become a senior, although I couldn't really tell in his plan what a senior was. Was that 60, 65, 70? I didn't see that annotated in his plan.
Can these plans to lower property taxes do so without having a devastating effect on the budgets of our local municipalities?
Well, I think that's a great question too, and it really kind of plays to the idea of what is the purpose of taxation? Is the idea that the local governments can get as much money? I once heard a town chief of staff say, they give us a big bucket of money and we just spend it. And that to me is the wrong attitude. What we need to do is get back to the concept that local government services, your firefighters, your police, your schools, and the infrastructure should be the main focus of your local governments. Today we have redevelopment commissions in many localities that are given large amounts of taxpayer dollars through tax increment financing, and that money is spent on things that have nothing to do with the local infrastructure.
Some in those communities might argue that's what draws people to their community. What's your response to that? Some of those amenities, the quality of the schools, the things that come from that tax money.
I think, first of all, the quality of schools I think is correct. But tax increment financing takes money away from schools. That's why when the General Assembly capped the property tax, I believe it was in 2007 or 2008,
yeah.
They also included the referendum capabilities of the school systems so that they could continue to raise those capital funds. And that's the other thing I think it's important for the everyday Hoosier to remember is that tax increment financing and property taxes are for capital expenditures for schools, new buildings, things of that nature. The classroom money comes out of the general fund.
But let's talk about the politics of this race somewhat too. As we mentioned, you drew 11% back in 2020, which was a figure much higher than we've seen from any third-party candidate in a long time. But to win this race, you've got to get up into the 30s, right, to win a three-way race.
Right.
Anywhere
Absolutely.
in between there, let's say somewhere between 15 and 30%, you might be playing the role of spoiler if you were to improve your number but not win the race. Are you concerned at all about your candidacy potentially having that effect if it were to lead to, say, Jennifer McCormick winning the race for governor because you've split the conservative vote? Well,
First of all, I think that there are plenty of folks who might be what we would consider traditional Democrat voters who my candidacy appeals to as well. For example, I am an advocate for legalizing and decriminalizing cannabis, for reducing the regulations on industrial hemp.
So you think you could draw potentially from both parties?
I believe I do.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk with our panel about the race for governor and about the race for president in this very contentious week on the campaign trail, plus the potential impact of some proposed new diploma standards and what one university president is saying about it now.